A new banking delivery model is being rolled out and people are already losing their jobs because of it. 1,200 Standard Bank employees are facing possible unemployment when 91 branches are closed. ABSA may be the next to let people go. Now, they're all victims of the growing move to digital banking. What do people have to do to remain relevant in the banking sector? It's a big problem for the workforce. So let's discuss this with Joe Kokela, the General Secretary of Finance Union, SASPO, and Sibing Gesini Ngunze, Standard Bank's Head of Retail and Business Banking, join me. Very warm welcome to both of you. Mr. Ngunze, talk us through the model.
Good evening, Jane, and good evening to your listeners. Jane, the reality of where we're at is we've experienced over time that customers increasingly are starting to use digital channels. The number of visits by customers to our branches is reducing on average 20% year on year. And clearly, customers are telling us that they prefer to do business with us over digital channels and, most importantly, over mobile. And so we've had to look at the reality and realign our delivery model, taking into account changing preferences by our own customers. And this has led to the unfortunate realization that we now are faced with the reality of a redundant infrastructure that is no longer economical, and therefore we have to act in a manner that's congruent with our fiduciary obligation to explore opportunities around what do we do with the infrastructure. But most importantly, we have also taken the decision that in the changing customer behavior, the first thing we have to do is to take people on a journey, change the skill set so that they meet the new demands of the future. So we're taking a number of people onto a reskilling journey over the next year. We have also set into motion a number of other initiatives to build digital assets, to build digital solutions, and to go where customers are doing business with us by creating solutions that are available and accessible on mobile.
How's the union going to be dealing with this? What's the plan?
Look, maybe let me start by greeting you, Jane, and the viewers. Our plan for now is to see how can we best get a solution for all our members of the union that might be affected by the so-called digitalization. As it is now, we are engaging with the bank sector, which is one of the skills developers in this country. And we are also trying to speak to a few other universities to say what is it that we can do to make sure that we make our members to be relevant.
How worried are you, though?
Look, we are very worried in an extent that...
what sort of numbers are we looking at?
Look, the bank is talking about 1,200, of the numbers. And the Matches is talking about the 1,200. So it means that we'll have 1,200 families in this country that might go, into starvation. We might have families that might resort, into poverty. Because of 1,200, it's a big number. And we must also point out as the union that we believe that banking in South Africa is jumping the gun. Because of much as we, Swung Sen is talking about for the next coming year, not ever. But here we're talking in terms of 3 to 4 months that is coming where there'll be layoffs. So it's telling you that that is a serious problem, a serious concern that we have as SASPO, as the finance union in this country.
I mean, it's a tough call, I should imagine. I hope that the emotions and the impact of it affect you and you understand what it means. You touched briefly on sort of upskilling. How will you involve some of those so that you don't lose the 1,200? Yes. Is there a way that you can negotiate them into a different path?
Yeah, absolutely, Jane. I mean, this is not a decision that's been taken lightly. We have explored a number of options on, one, how do we avoid even going this route? Secondly, what are the initiatives that we put in place to minimize the impact as best as we can? And in the last instance, in the event that this is unavoidable, how do we help people as human beings through this journey? And perhaps really to go through some of the interventions that we've put in place. We've spoken about reskilling and taking people on a journey. The second intervention that we really have put in place is to make sure that we make people ready for a job market that's starting to emerge by making sure that they explore other opportunities. We have widened the net of recruiters so that people who are ultimately displaced within the bank at least find opportunities elsewhere.
Okay, I'll pick up on that a little bit more with you, if I may. Yeah. But why the need to go this route and at such a pace? I mean, why is it important to remove that human contact? And aren't you alienating people who are not technically minded?
Yeah, we are not removing human contact. So in the first instance, we are responding to the realities of our times, where physical is no longer as attractive for most of the customers. In terms of making digital accessible, I actually believe that digital is a leveler in terms of playing field, and we've seen it across the continent. There is significant adoption of smartphone devices. There's significant adoption of cellular telephony throughout the continent. Sub-Saharan Africa, for instance, a third of the 250 million odd devices is smart devices. And it allows for banking in ways that haven't been imaginable, and therefore removes, I think, for a greater part of our customers, the dependency on physical infrastructure, which increases, by the way, the cost of transacting, because you've got to catch a train, you've got to catch a bus to be able to go to the bank. The bank is no longer
South Africa
a place.
Playing at the same level as...
And South African is following that trend.
Okay, let me go back to, right, so you've covered a lot. I understand the reason. I mean, you've got to keep up. Yeah. How do you encourage your workers to embrace this new technology?
Jane, look, maybe before one can talk about encouraging, you know, the question that we've asked to say, is South Africa really ready, you know, for what the bank is talking about? I can tell you as the union to say, we don't believe that South Africa is ready.
Why?
Because of because of the competitive nature that we see among the banks. There's no bank that really comes to the fore, you know, come to the union and say, we believe that these are the skills, you know, that will be needed in the future. Not very long, Standard Bank affected 70 to 72 IT workers.
But sorry, isn't it your role to approach the bank and say, how can we work with you? You shouldn't have to wait to be handed out that information.
It is our role, because of, I'm coming to that, because of when they affected 72 IT workers, very funny advert was made to say they want cloud engineers. We've never heard in South Africa about any university that is offering such a skill like a cloud engineer. So you can clearly see that it was one way of saying, how do we redact, you know, staff? Because of who will be ready for cloud engineering, you know, into this country, you know, at where we are at. Then the second point of what we're asking is, as the union, we went out because of realizing that banking in South Africa does not want to talk to us. We went out to do our own research. We went as far as Europe. We went as far as Scandinavia, so as for us to understand the future world of work, and so as to see what does future has for us. We even had a digital Indaba, where we even called Standard Bank. We called all the banks to say, come, let's have a discussion. Let's find a solution together.
And I suppose, sorry, the problem for you is that you can't be held back by lack of skills, can you? I mean, what is your vision for the banking sector now for the next, say, 10 years?
Yeah, I think Joe makes a very valid point in that the world of work will require a totally new skill set. So we talk about coders, we talk about testers, and we talk about a new set of engineering skills, particularly in the IT space. So we are invested as an organization in this journey to, one, help people to acquire the new skills as best as possible, but most importantly, invest in the reality of what the new world of banking is going to look like, which is underpinned by acceleration in the levels of digitization, acceleration in the levels at which we deploy artificial intelligence and advanced analytics, and help and use those to improve client experience, which is actually at the center of competitiveness globally.
Okay, well, I hope you two keep talking, because it certainly is exciting and threatening in equal measure. Sibon Giseni Ngunze, thank you very much, and Joe Kokela, thank you.
Thank you.
That's our show tonight. Coming up, Checkpoint investigates a known sex offender who preys on female university students.